And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And I'm kind of in a giddy mood today because the topic we're going to cover today is a crash course. I'm going to give you a crash course in real estate investing. Now, I've got a ton of data I'm going to dump on your shoulders, but I know some of you are like me. You're a procrastinator. What am I getting at? Well, a procrastinator is somebody that waits till the last minute to get something done, and they usually get some of their best work done when they wait till the last minute. And most people that like crash courses do that sort of thing. Now, if you're not a procrastinator, if you're somebody that's methodical, that you work through things, this show is still going to benefit you. So don't turn off the show. Don't change the dial. This show is still for you too. As a matter of fact, the content that I'm going to cover today is content you need to hear. It's content you need to have flow into your cerebral cortex. I don't know if that's the proper part of your brain, but wherever it does flow to, this is information that needs to flow there because it will give you the information you're seeking. It will give you information that you can use to change the trajectory of your life. Now, the easiest way to do all this stuff, and I'll just be upfront and frank with you, is to go to lifestylesunlimited.com. And when you get there, sign up for the free workshop, because what that free workshop does for you is it gives you the introductory roadmap to financial freedom that Lifestyles Unlimited presents to all of its members. It is a very important element of changing the trajectory of your life. Have you ever considered retiring in 5 years or less? I know the majority of you are on the 35 to 45 year plan, which is, stuffing money into a 401k or an IRA and praying that the market is in your favor and that it builds wealth so that you can get to a point in your life where you've got a big bag of money and then you can retire and walk away from that job maybe in your 60s or your 70s, and hopefully that bag of money will be sufficient enough to sustain you through the rest of your life so that you don't run out of money before you die. That is the conventional plan that most people are following. That was the conventional plan that I used to follow before I became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. And when I became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, I got busy changing the trajectory of my life, and in doing so, I achieved retirement 2 years after I joined. Now, I'm not saying that everybody gets it done in 2 years. There are plenty of members that do, but many members need that full 5 years. There are a couple members that might need a couple more years. Everybody starts in a different financial place. Everybody has a different level of income they're trying to replace with real estate investing. And it's just a matter of math. It's just a matter of, can you get it done in 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever it takes, based on your circumstances and based on your desired outcome. Really, it's all about you and what you're trying to create. So let me get into this crash course in real estate investing because I've got a ton of data. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I'm going to get through all of it today, but the information that I share with you is designed to help you understand that when buying a house for investment purposes, there are many key factors you must consider to ensure a successful investment. And on today's show, we'll tackle some of the important aspects that you need to consider. And by the way, if you have a real estate investment question you would like answered, send it to me at askal@luinc.com. That's askal@luinc.com. Now, on to the information you tuned in to hear. The first thing I want to share with you is the concept of location. You've heard it. I've heard it. Real estate is all about location, 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 right? So that's the first topic that I'm going to tackle today. And when you're considering location, one of the things you must consider when you're looking at the asset is its proximity to different amenities. Because keep in mind, the person living there may or may not want proximity to different amenities that make it convenient for them as they live in your rental asset. Some other things you have to consider about the proximity to amenities is you have to assess the condition and reputation of nearby amenities, including checking online reviews. Yeah, you don't want to find the best property in a particular location only to find out that everything around you is slum housing, because that will affect your asset. Okay, so something you have to consider. You also have to investigate any potential future developments that may enhance or possibly diminish the value of the nearby amenities. What am I talking about there? Well, maybe there's a property nearby that's going to go through a major renovation. They're going to turn it from nasty property into beautiful high-income apartment homes. Do you think that that would affect your property or your asset? And I would tell you, yes, it will. And I think personally, it will favorably affect the property. But what if they renovate that property and turn it into a beer making property? In other words, an industrial property. Do you think that that would have an impact on the property? I think it would. And it depends on your clientele. It depends on whether or not you think that that benefits you, because all of a sudden now you have an asset that's very close to a working location, and you may be able to provide housing for somebody that could literally walk to work. Yeah, there's pros and cons, but you have to make up your mind. You need to break down crime rates into specific types of crimes to get a nuanced understanding. What do I mean by nuanced understanding? Well, you need to understand the crime patterns in the neighborhood. Now, just about every neighborhood in America experiences some form of crime. Some neighborhoods experience very low levels of crime, like maybe you get a car break-in once a year. Other neighborhoods have rampant crime. You have not only like car break-ins, but you have home break-ins and burglaries, or maybe you have more intensive types of crime like murders or rapes or shootings or those types of things, you know? So you have to understand what the crime rate is in the location you're considering. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that in conversations I've had with Del Walmsley, our founder and CEO, he's not afraid of high crime rate areas. As a matter of fact, when he was younger, back in his 30s, when he was investing in apartments, what we call Class D apartments, he didn't really care. What's a Class D apartment? A Class D apartment is like the worst kind of apartment you could invest in. And Del made a lot of money investing in those types of properties. He would go in and find the nastiest property he could find, and he'd turn it around. And in doing so, he helped to actually improve the crime rates of the area because he attracted people to the area that didn't want to deal with crime or didn't have a part in crime. And in doing so, he kind of cleaned up those areas, and law enforcement was very thankful that he turned a drug-infested, prostitute-ridden apartment community into one that was not that way. Now, I know I'm talking about homes, but there's a lesson to be learned, and you just need to understand what the crime rates are. You need to understand what you're willing to accept, because you and I alone cannot go in and necessarily change crime rates with a single-family house. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing I want you to look at is take a look at school performance data. And in doing so, you should actually speak to some local parents to gauge the quality of education. I mean, when you're doing your due diligence, it's okay to talk to people in the neighborhood and get their feel for what's going on. And one of those things you should ask them is, how good is the schools around here? Are they any good? And in doing so, you can find out whether or not it's a neighborhood that people are saying, well, you know, that school's pretty bad. As a matter of fact, my lease is up. I'm going to move to find a better neighborhood that has a better school because I want what's best for my child. If you hear something like that, that should be a red flag for you. Now, there's plenty of information out there on the internet that you can find that talks about school performance data. So take a look at school performance data. I'm not telling you have to be in neighborhoods that are just like A++ type of schools. There are other neighborhoods that have good schools that may not be A++, but they're still decent schools, and they still produce a quality education for the kids that goes to those schools. One more thing on neighborhood trends that you need to consider is look for indicators of neighborhood stability, such as the average length of home ownership. Yeah, what am I getting at there? If you go into a neighborhood where people have lived there for a long time, those are people that believe in that neighborhood. They have not moved out of that neighborhood because they enjoy the neighborhood. They have grown up in that neighborhood. They have raised their children in that neighborhood. They plan to grow old in that neighborhood. It's a great indicator of how crime and schools and those types of things are affecting that particular neighborhood. But if you go into a neighborhood where somebody's doing a bunch of flips and all of a sudden there's a big transition of who owns properties, you're not necessarily sure of whether or not people that are going into those neighborhoods are in it for the long haul. Does that make sense? I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong when it comes to these particular indicators. I'm just saying you should take a look at them because it may or may not influence what you choose to do as far as selecting an area that you might consider buying a single-family house in. Now, what about market trends? Well, market trends kind of break down into two different things. There are real estate market conditions and there are historical property values. On the real estate market conditions, you need to analyze interest rate trends over the past several years and determine what the cost of money will be for you in today's market. Do not let interest rates dissuade you from buying the asset. Now, I will tell you that interest rates fluctuate. We have gone through periods of time where interest rates were really high. When I was a young man, interest rates were in the teens. When I was an older man, I saw interest rates on mortgages as low as like in the 2s and the 3s. Now, those days are behind us, and interest rates have stabilized to a more normalized amount. But understand what the cost of money is, because that needs to be baked into your financial analysis as to whether or not you buy or not buy the asset. Consider the impact of broader economic indicators such as consumer confidence and unemployment rates. Also, consider if the prices are falling, remaining steady, or moving upwards. You have to evaluate the competitiveness of the local housing market and how it may affect your negotiation power. I mean, ask yourself this question. Are you in a seller's market? Are you in a buyer's market? Are you in a balanced market? Because those types of impacts will impact the area as well as the asset you consider buying. Now, on the concept of historical property values, make sure you break down the historical property value data by specific neighborhoods or subdivisions. Make sure you investigate the impact of major economic events like recessions or industry shifts on property values, because depending on where you're looking, those could have a major impact. And also, consider any governmental policies or incentives that may have influenced property values over time. The government likes to put its hands into all kinds of things, and sometimes they do a good job, but many times they kind of mess it up. They do. The government's always there. They're always saying, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And that should scare the bejeebers out of you because they're not always well-intentioned. I mean, maybe they are well-intentioned, but the results don't necessarily match up with their good intentions. Now, there's a lot more information that I need to hit you with, such as property condition and rental potential and things like that. But we're kind of at the end of the segment. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to remind you that if you have a real estate investment question that you want answered, send it to me at askal@luinc.com. That's askal@luinc.com. And I will answer you directly. When we come back from the break, more on the real estate crash course. Stick around.
Got questions? Call Lifestyles Unlimited at 855-497-4335. The Real Estate Investor Radio Show continues next.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a part of Lifestyles Unlimited? Del Walmsley tells you what to expect when you join us for the next live online free workshop.
We've been here for 30 years. Over 30 years, we've had and or do have roughly 50,000 plus members all over the United States. We have retired tens of thousands of people, and it's just incredible what you're going to find that you're going to be in here. Not only are you going to find the greatest amount of information and education, you're going to find the people, the most open people you've ever met in your entire life.
Come meet the people at Lifestyles Unlimited who will help you change your life and empower you to stop depending on a paycheck, your 401k, IRA, or Social Security for your future. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com. At the free workshop, we'll teach you the 5 ways to make money with real estate, cash flow, equity capture, appreciation, equity buildup, and the tax advantages. Like Dell says, we'll open our books and show you how the numbers work with both single-family and multifamily case studies. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second half of the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, I'm working on your financial freedom. And in doing so, I'm giving you a crash course in real estate investing. Now, I've put together a bunch of information, and it's becoming very clear to me as of the fact that we're in the second half of the show that I'm not going to get through all of this information. So where do you get this information if you can't get it from the radio? The best thing to do is to go to lifestylesunlimited.com. When you get there, there's a tab that says Join Free Workshop. Now, when you click on that tab, it's going to give you an opportunity to register for an upcoming free workshop. What's a free workshop? Well, it's just that. It's a free workshop. It doesn't cost you anything to attend. It allows you to essentially kick the tires at Lifestyles Unlimited and to determine whether or not it will be a good fit for you as far as becoming a member. So why do you want to become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited? So that you can obtain the information that you need instead of listening to the radio all the time. I'm not saying don't listen to the radio because we're going to provide you great content on the radio. But if you want one-stop shopping, if you want to get all the information that you need in one place, becoming a member of Lifestyles Unlimited is a great way to accomplish that. And not only do you get the information, you get to surround yourself with successful, like-minded individuals that can help you on your path to financial freedom. Wouldn't it be great to sit down with somebody who's been there, done that, got all the T-shirts, maybe won some awards, and befriend them and have that person kind of give you some insight on the path that you're about ready to follow? It is a game changer. Lifestyles Unlimited is designed to assist you with becoming, I'll use the term real estate mogul because I think that is a desired outcome that you can achieve. Many, many members of Lifestyles Unlimited are multimillionaires, and they created that wealth by joining Lifestyles Unlimited, going through the educational process, and then putting into play all of that education that they received by buying real estate assets. And what I'm doing again today is I'm giving you kind of a crash course in real estate investing. But again, I'm not going to get through all of the content. So I do recommend you go to lifestylesunlimited.com, join that free workshop, and let's get you going. Now let's get back to the crash course, because one of the things I want to talk to you about is something called property condition. This is something that you have to take into consideration when you're analyzing neighborhoods or specific properties. Now, the big monkey in the room, if you will, I guess it's the big elephant in the room, but imagine King Kong. Imagine King Kong in the room. And if it was King Kong, it would be something called structural integrity. Yeah, structural integrity. What am I getting at? Well, one of the things that you'll learn how to do is to obtain detailed reports from specialized inspectors for each system in the property, such as the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical. The Lifestyles Unlimited vendor list, which is a part of your membership when you become a member, is a great source of information to find these types of experts. Yeah, I'm just being upfront and clear with you. Also look for signs of deferred maintenance and assess the potential costs of bringing the property up to code. Now, some municipalities will require you to improve the property to current code depending on the amount of renovations you need to accomplish. And this goes back to the concept of knowing the location. Remember, location, location, location. Also, consider the impact of natural disasters or climate-related risks on the property. The insurance industry is a great source of information to figure out all this data because insurance rates are determined based on this type of data. Did you know that there are certain insurance companies out there that will not insure properties in certain areas of the United States? Do you want to buy properties in those parts of the United States? I mean, isn't that kind of an indicator that maybe you would be subject to natural disasters or climate-related risks? Yeah. So take a look at where the insurance companies are insuring properties and maybe tailor your search to those parts of the nation. Now, what about renovation costs? Because this is one of the key concepts that you will learn about as a Lifestyles Unlimited member, how to determine renovation costs. Now, the easiest way to do it is to obtain multiple quotes from different contractors, specifying material and labor costs separately. You want to know what they're going to charge you for material. You want to know what they're going to charge you for labor. You need to break those things out so that you can compare the quotes effectively. I can't stress this enough. Get 3 quotes from reliable contractors, not somebody who just like blew into town last week. I'm talking about people that have been in the business for a while. What's a while? Well, more than a day or two, that's for sure. That's what a while is. You know, there are reputable contractors in every market in the United States. All you have to do is go out and find them. Now, the Lifestyles Unlimited vendor list, that is a great way to find these reliable contractors. Also, getting to know other Lifestyles Unlimited members is a great way to source that information because you can look over your shoulder and go, hey, Bob, who did you use for your properties? And Bob will say, I used ABC brand. Oh, so maybe you ought to get a quote from ABC brand because if Bob used them and had a good experience with them, and if he didn't have a good experience, he wouldn't have recommended them to you. Does that make sense? The other thing you need to consider is to prioritize your renovations that align with the preferences of the target rental market. Man, I just said a bunch of big words there, didn't I? In other words, only improve the property to the scale of the community it's located in. Know your competition. You have to create a detailed project timeline and consider potential for cost overruns. Always take into consideration the things that you cannot control. Those are called contingency plans. Yeah, always have a contingency plan for anything you're trying to do. Remember, this whole concept of real estate investing, it's really designed to help you regain your time. We don't want you spending all of your free time improving the project. Hire quality people to do that for you, and in doing so, that gives you back your time so that when you have enough assets in your portfolio that they're creating enough passive income that you can walk away from your job, 100% of your time is 100% of your time, and you regain control over your life again. Now, one of the ways you can get this type of demographic information is become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited and rub elbows with other people that are doing exactly what you're doing in the marketplace. And the other thing that you'll learn as a Lifestyles Unlimited member is that we share information with each other to include financial information. Yeah, we'll open up the books and we'll share it with you because we want you to understand what the marketplace is doing. It is a treasure trove of information to become a Lifestyles Unlimited member. Now, getting back to this concept of rental demand, make sure you analyze rental listing data for different property types to understand demand dynamics. In other words, assets rent for various amounts based on location, amenities, and condition. The key takeaway, know your marketplace and the needs of the renters you are targeting. Now, let's talk a little bit about rental income versus expenses. One of the things you'll need to do is you'll need to break down the maintenance costs into routine major repairs and estimate their frequency. Now, if you're a Lifestyles Unlimited member, you can actually skip this step. This is really for people that don't want to join Lifestyles Unlimited. They want to try it on their own and get whatever result they're going to get. What am I getting at? Well, the non-Lifestyles Unlimited member probably won't go into the asset and fix or replace anything that could go wrong in the next 5 to 7 years. In other words, as a Lifestyles Unlimited member, we fix or repair anything that does not have a lifespan of 5 to 7 years as part of the renovation process. As a result of that, we don't worry about major repairs showing up out of nowhere and then blowing up our numbers. Yeah, it's a great recipe for success. Now, another thing you need to consider is the impact of property management fees on your overall costs of owning the property. Now, there's two schools of thought: self-manage or hire a professional. Make sure you build that into your expenses and make sure you understand how that impacts your cash flow on the property. If the property management fees blow up your cash flow potential, then maybe you need to consider self-managing. And if self-managing is just something you can't wrap your head around, then pass on the asset. It's as simple as that. What about the concept of finances? Well, under that umbrella, you have to look at affordability. Evaluate the impact of potential changes in your personal financial situation, such as job stability. Well, if you think you're in danger of losing your job and you're going to lose income, maybe that's not the right time for you to jump into real estate investing because you're reliant on a job for income. And unless you've got a big 401k or a big IRA or a lot of money in savings, jumping right into real estate as you're going through a job loss I should say that may be a viable course of action for you, but for many people, it's not. Understand what's going on in your personal life because you don't need to be dealing with crisis while you're dealing with real estate investing. That's just Al sharing his personal observations with you. Consider the potential for refinancing in the future to take advantage of lower interest rates. What does that mean? Let's say you buy an asset today, and let's say the interest rate is, I don't know, for an investor, 7.5% or 8%, but the numbers work, so you buy the asset. Time goes on, and interest rates reduce down. Let's say they get down to, say, a 6% rate. You should consider refinancing the asset at that time because you'll benefit from a lower payment cost because you're paying less in interest. Now, keep in mind that interest write-off that you take is going to be diminished a little bit, but it's going to be an overall net benefit to you. Also, explore the impact of different down payment scenarios on overall affordability. What do I mean by that? Well, many of you think that by buying real estate, you're going to have to go in and put 20% down on an asset, and you're going to have to come up with the repair cost because you've talked to a bank already, and that's what they've told you. They'll loan you 80% of the present value of the property, and any repair costs that you need to make on that property, you have to absorb those repair costs. So it's going to be a lot of money going into the asset. But when you become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, we're going to teach you how to harness the effectiveness of something called a hard money loan. Now, a hard money loan isn't that hard at all. What is it? It's an asset-based loan. In other words, we have vendors as a part of the Lifestyles Unlimited vendor list that understand our business model, and in doing so, what they're willing to do for us is they're willing to loan us 70% of the after repair value of the asset. What does that mean? It means you can go into the property and literally once the dust all settles, maybe you're only paying an effective down payment rate of 10% or 12% or maybe 15%. It's not 20% down, and it's not paying for all the repair costs out of your own pocket. What this does for you is it keeps the amount of cash out of pocket to a minimum, and in doing so, it really drives your rates of return on the asset across the 5 different ways we make money in real estate. Those 5 different ways we make money in real estate are cash flow, appreciation, equity capture, principal pay down. There are the tax advantages of being a residential income property owner. And if you just happen to be doing multifamily, you get something called forced appreciation, which I'm not going to go into now, but we go into ad nauseum when you become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. I'll tell you, this has been a crash course. I've hit you with a lot of information, and I've only gotten through about half of what I intended to get through. So what do you do to get the rest of the information? Go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for that free workshop, and let's get you going.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the host, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.